Captain Dan here, Goober Time Guide Service. We've got the Nucanoe Unlimited here. If you've seen our video on this boat, this thing is set up pretty awesome, so I'm going to link that down in the description below. Make sure you check that out after this video. We have this thing totally tricked out, and we're about to make a really big upgrade today that I'm pretty excited about. Now, when I say really big upgrade, I mean it. This thing is monstrous. This is the Newport Vessel's NK300, and this is a 3 horsepower equivalent. Now, to get this set up on a Nucanoe, you're going to need a little bit more than what comes in this box, but let's get on the workbench and tear this box open and see what all comes in here. All right, here we are with the Newport Vessel's NK300. Open up this box and we see there's a couple things we want to get into. We've got the mounting bracket. I don't think I'm going to need anything in this box, but we'll check it out in a second anyway. Here's our controller. If you couldn't tell, they've got everything nice and labeled for us. Installation kit, I imagine this has a lot of odds and ends in there. And then there's not a whole lot more to it. You've got your motor in here. Now I'll tell you what, that is one beefy motor right there. It is feeling heavy duty, nice and quality. I'm excited to get this thing rolling. Let's check out what's in these boxes. Here's the install kit. You got your manuals, battery cable, and a whole bunch of 550 cord, metal brackets, knobs. We'll see what we need out of here once we get into the install, but we'll set that all together, and I doubt we're gonna have to use all of that. Here's our controller. Definitely gonna have to use this for our build. Okay, pretty straightforward there. Got this packaged up. There's your throttle body, and it looks like your magnetic kill switch too. So we'll set that off to the side. Okay, and here's the mounting bracket. I'm installing on a Nucanoe, which I had to buy a different mounting bracket, which we'll get into, but if you're gonna install this on something else, I do want you to see what's in this box. So we've got our mounting bracket right here with some pad eyes installed. And it looks like your quick release bars to go through. So I don't think I'm gonna have to use any of this. I'm gonna set it aside and save it in case I ever use it for a different application. Now, like I was saying, you are gonna need a piece from Nucanoe. This is their EPS kit right here. That's gonna let you mount an electronic motor right there. Now, I'm installing this on a Nucanoe Unlimited. There's a special part number for that specific kayak in their series. So make sure that you're buying the right kit to match your kayak. I'm gonna link this one down in the description if you're gonna put it on Unlimited like I am. Now, I'm not saying you have to leave this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and write a comment down below, but my sources tell me that if you don't, the next time you're on the water, you're gonna get one of those sunburns where it looks like you still have sandals, and it's gonna be wicked. So what are you waiting for? Go take care of that stuff. It helps the channel out, and we appreciate your support. Let's bust open the Nucanoe kit and see what's in there. Let's bust open the Nucanoe kit and see what's in there. If you're not installing this on a Nucanoe, you can just skip this part. So we have our steering cable linkage. We have a mount for the throttle. This is by Kayak, so that's nice. I've got a lot of their products. Here's our foot steering mechanism. We got a strap with a 550 cord on there. Looks like it's a pull strap, probably to raise and lower the bracket here. You got your quick connect. We'll open that box in a second. Here's some more of your quick connect and instructions how to do the whole thing, but we're gonna go through this entire boat today, make sure we get it all set up. Let's crack these two kits open right here and see what's in there. Here's more instructions. This looks like the motor mount, the quick connect piece that's gonna come off with the motor. And here we have a heavy duty transom plate that's gonna accept that bracket. So essentially what we're gonna do is replace this piece right here with this one, which will be accepted by the transom mount right here. Let's get this piece on the boat so we can feel like we're making some progress here. It comes with this little kit. All right, here's our pieces in the transom mount kit. We're gonna need this bracket right here. This is gonna kind of sandwich our plastic transom. Through bolt, that's gonna go through the hole in the back. We're gonna need this with the lock tabs to get us tightened down to our transom, and I believe we have everything we need here. Let's get rolling. Let's get this all over to the kayak and get it going. All right, so for this install, motor bracket goes on the back. You're gonna want 2 T-bolts to go in your track here. You can kind of slide that over and get it ready to go. That'll hold it in place. Put your other one in too. Get that all lined up. If you want, you can just lightly put these on. We'll tighten everything down later. Find this little plastic piece right here that goes in the hole to fill up the back of the Nucanoe there. Long bolt's gonna go in from the back through that plug and come all the way through the front. Put that plate on the inside. It's gonna sandwich it. Washer, lock washer, and tighten that thing down like crazy. 7/16 socket will go on the back there. And then you can tighten this bad boy down. Don't forget to tighten down those transom knobs as well. Okay, we're good right there for the moment. Our next line of business is with this piece right here from Nucanoe Kit. We're gonna have to swap it out with this Newport Vessels piece. But first they want us to pull this pin right here, take this little section out and go install that on the transom mount we just put on. All we're doing here is taking care of that thumb screw on the bottom. We'll pull that pin all the way through, set it on over, and drop it right back in. It's a little bit of a tight fit, so just keep playing around with it till you get it. After a little love tap, just put that little bolt back on the bottom. I want to make sure that's real tight because that's when I can see kind of rattling off when I'm transporting the kayak. That's going to allow our motor to pivot back and forth, it looks like. And here we go with one of the most interesting parts of the build here. We're going to have to unwrap all this looming, take this bracket off, and get the Nucanoe one installed. So let's get this undone right here. We need to take this Anderson plug off right here, so let's poke it through the silicone housing. Try and get that free. Now, if you've never worked with an Anderson plug before, we've got these little hooks that go over these tabs, so if you get in there and press the tab down, it's a lot easier to see if you're actually doing it up close. You can push the tab down and pull the wire through. Sometimes it takes a little bit of fiddling. Just don't pull too hard, you don't need to bust anything. And that'll pull right out the back. So these have a little hook on the back, goes right over that metal lip. Plug comes right off, save that for later. Pull your silicone cap through. And now we've got to deal with this end of the motor. We've got a grommet up top. This is kind of waterproofing grommet. Pull your red and your black power cables through first. That'll leave a little bit more room in that hole to get the remote cable through. Okay, now that's good for now. Let's flip this thing over. We've got to loosen up these guys right here. For some reason, we're going over to a 10mm socket on this one. With a little bit of a love tap and pulling apart on those wings, you can get that to go right over the grommet. Take that bad boy off. Now this bracket has to come off. Same thing, a little bit of encouragement, pops right off. Put that one in your parts bin. We're going Nucanoe style on the rest of this. Now these two collars right here are used to help you set your depth of your motor, and we're not going to need that with the Nucanoe system, so let's pop these off right here. Once you get this clip off, you've got to make a decision about your fairing. You can keep it on or take it off. There is a gasket right here, but it doesn't actually seal anything up. This looks like it's all sealed in through there, so you're fine. You could take it off and just run your motor bracket low. This is going to work well if you're trying to go through shallow water. I might end up doing that eventually, but I think for now I'm going to leave it on. And instead of using this to hold my fairing in place, I'm going to use the actual Nucanoe motor mount to hold my fairing in place. So let's get that on. Feed your power cables through. Make sure you go right through those holes right there. That's where it's going to clamp onto the bracket, and right in through that gap as well. Your remote switch needs to go up through there as well. Both sets. Get that slid down through here. And I'm going to clamp it down right on top of my fairing there. Now before you get carried away, make sure that it's facing the right way. You want the curved part to head back towards the prop, because remember this part has to attach to the boat. Now that we've got this shaft aligned with the fairing and everything, kind of press this down as you go. You're just going to tighten up these 4 bolts on the side. This is your chance to make sure it's aligned, so get that fairing going right up the shaft and right through the center of these bushings here. What's going to happen is as you tighten this up, there's these grommets inside of here. They're going to grab onto the shaft and lock everything down in place. 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. And once you're good, really lock those down. You want to make sure it's not going to go anywhere. We're not going to need this piece after all, so set that all off to the side in case you ever change up your setup. Back to our grommet, so we're going to reverse everything here. We're going to go remote switch first. That's the fattest one, so we need to make sure that one has room to get through. And then shove these through as well. Get that tightened down on top of the post there. Now you might be able to see, but as you tighten that down, it squeezes that rubber grommet in there. That's going to try and keep water from penetrating down to the shaft. Phillips head screwdriver, you got a couple bolts sticking out here. Tighten those down and just double check the other side too, but on my case these are all tightened down pretty well. Now this is pretty nice. Let's take this over to the kayak and get this tossed on. So take your pin out right here, slide that on top of your post here. Let's put your pin back in and then slam down on it. That should lock it into place. The motor is installed, that easy. Looks like I forgot to put my Anderson plug back together. So just make sure you have these curved parts lined up with the curved parts of the Anderson plug so you know which side is positive, which side's negative when it all goes back together. You don't want to get your polarity mixed up. That'll potentially fry your battery or your motor. Now take those, they go right back in. Red goes to positive. Make sure your hook is going to go over that tab. And push it until you get a click. If you pull on it, it won't come out. Same thing with the negative. Push it on until it engages and hooks over that tab, and then you shouldn't be able to pull it out. Slide your silicone cover back over. This is really nice. I've never used these before. I'm going to have to look into these for some of my other projects. And there we go. We're back together. You'll probably want to rewrap your looming at this point. Start off with all three cables in there together. And when you get up towards the remote, you're going to want to split there so you can quick disconnect that remote. It's kind of up to you how much of that you leave hanging out. I'm going to stop about right there and go underneath it. And then just do the positive and negative the rest of the way up. There we go, looking nice. At this point, we want to start working on the foot steer. Again, you've got some instructions. I think these are a duplicate from over there. Up there, their own for the foot pedal steering. Okay, this kit comes with your 2 T-bolts, and looks like that's about all it's going to take to get this thing on there. Let's get over the boat and get it on. 2 T-bolts, some knobs, and some blue Loctite. This is going to go on pretty easy. Slot your 2 T-bolts into the track. Get them spaced out a little bit. All you need to do is drop your foot pedal on it. Make sure it's lined up in those 2 tracks, and then go ahead and bolt that down. I don't think I'm going to use the blue Loctite just yet. If I find that over time they're starting to rattle loose on me, I'll go ahead and put that on there. Because I know for now I'm going to want to play around with this and figure out exactly where I want that foot pedal once I get out on the water. Yeah, that was easy. Looks like it's steering cable time. You're going to want to go to your motor mount and remove the ball joint from the back, and then we're going to go ahead and take our steering cable and screw it into our foot pedal. I'm just going to route my steering cable right up the floor, all the way up to the foot pedal, and it's going to screw in right here into this piece. Okay, screw that in by hand as tight as you can, and then you've got this washer right here. Just lock that nut down on the back of it so it doesn't rattle loose. Now this is going to work the same in the front and the back, but you've got this little groove right here. You want to pull this butterfly pin through, flap that down, and you've got these grooves right here. Set that indentation into it and press in. Flip that up and put your butterfly pin back through. On the back end, we've got the same scenario. So we're going to screw that ball joint in right to the end of our cable here, as far as we can get it. Tighten it off. Make sure you tighten that nut on the bottom, lock it in place. And you can fasten that right into this set right here, same setup. Press it down, put your clip back in. And the last piece of the setup here is to get your actuator and clip that onto the actual motor here for steering. So that's how that steering is going to go. When you press on the foot pedal, your motor is going to turn left and right. Next up, we're heading to the install kit. You're going to need your throttle, your battery cable, and out of this whole set of packaging, you're just going to need one little piece. That is the throttle extension cable. So that's the black electric extension cable right there. I believe all this other stuff is just bonus, so set that to the side. Let's get the throttle mounted onto the Yak Attack mount. Looks like this is a 2-screw installation here. We've got the 2 screws right here with the Phillips head. And yep, it's gonna screw right into the bottom of the body right here. So flip that over, line those two holes up with your bracket. You're probably gonna wanna pop that off the mount. Just be careful how these come apart so you know how to put it back together. This is gonna mount right on here. Flip it over, line up the holes, and let's screw it in. Now this is where I'm definitely gonna use some of the blue Loctite. I do not wanna lose this throttle body going down the road. Then put that assembly right back together the way it came apart. It's fully adjustable. You can even adjust the height a little bit. Get that to lay down or wherever you need it for your hand position. These mounts are cool because you can press the tab inside, flip the lever open, pop that off. That goes on your kayak. This whole thing can pop out, which is probably how I'll drive down the road because I do not want to lose this thing. I'm sure it's expensive. These install real easy. Line up your T-bolt with your grooves right there, slide in the track, press it down, tighten the knob. Probably want this pretty close to your seat. And then when you're ready to install the throttle, drop it down, close the lever, and you're done, locked in place. Male end goes back towards the motor, female end goes up towards the throttle. I like to find out how long it's going to be and just coil up my excess and tuck it back here. That way I'm not running over my cord as I go. I also like to snake it up the side so it's kind of out of the way and tucked away. Here's your chance to kind of route it and hide it the best you can. All right, now we're down to our motor retract part and the battery, and this thing is ready for the water. Open that retract cord kit. You got your 550 cord, pull handle, and a carabiner so you can quick connect it. You're gonna wanna route your 550 cord through the pulley that's already installed on your Nucanoe. After you route your 550 cord through that pulley on your Nucanoe, pull a bunch of extra through and send it on back towards the end of your kayak. Once you get up under your seat, you're gonna see a couple pad eyes attached to the side of the boat. So we got one right here. Make sure that 550 cord goes through the pad eye. That'll help with your management here. A little bit further down, there's another one. And just keep pulling that excess down. And now's where you want to tie on your carabiner, using whatever knot you like. There's a loop that comes off your motor. Attach your carabiner there. So when you pull that cord from under your seat, you can raise and lower your motor from there. You're going to have some excess 550 cord, so tie that off to the bottom of your pull cord and kind of go from there. I'm going to cut the excess of my 550 cord off and burn the end so it doesn't fray. All right, now it's time for battery install. As you can see, I'm opening up the harness kit. We're using a 38.4 volt, 55 amp hour battery for this application. This thing's gonna have some serious runtime. That's the beauty of the Newport vessels and ultimately what led me to them. You can use whatever battery you want, so you don't have to go buy a $1,000 battery. This thing was just a couple $100. And by the way, I've got everything linked in the description down below, so make sure you check that out. This battery happens to fit perfectly inside of a battery box, so I'm gonna take advantage of that. Not much room to spare right there. Take your covers off. You could connect right to the battery with your cordage, but I'm gonna take one extra safety measure. I'm gonna install a 50 amp fuse right here, just for peace of mind. I like to have a fuse as close to my battery as possible, just in case anything goes wrong. So this attaches to the positive terminal. Size 13 socket, tighten that down. And now you can attach right to the post of that fuse, and you've got a fuse as close to your battery as humanly possible here. So I'll attach the red right to that and tighten it down, black to black. Now the nice thing here, they give you plenty of cord in case you want to store this battery up in front of your kayak. I'm not going to do that. So what I'm going to do is shift my battery over to one side, run this over here, and shove as much of it down into the battery box as I can, just leaving out what I plan to use in my build. Now before I button this up, I did attach a second Anderson plug here for charging. And I know you might be thinking, just plug your charger into this thing once you pull it out of the kayak, but remember, I'm going to use this in the boat. So I want to be able to plug into my trolling motor and have a dedicated onboard battery charger as well. So I'm going to dual purpose this battery. Stay tuned to a future video to watch that setup. Now we just need to button our box back up and we are good to go, baby. All right, now that baby isn't going anywhere. All it's left to do is get this bad boy on the water and rock and roll. All right, so here we are out here, friends. We got the NK300 hooked up. We got the 36 volt battery run up here just behind the seat on the Nucanoe. We do have the motor guide up front with a 100 amp hour battery in the back, so we're running a little bit heavy on this thing. 5 fishing rods, 4 catfish rigs right here, and 1 ultralight, and a gill net. Got a little bit of a bait cooler. That thing's empty. And aside from that, it's just me and my big button here. So we're gonna take a look at some of the throttle controls. It's pretty simple and give you some speed tests out here on the water. So there's our throttle control right there. We got the foot steering over here. Now when your motor is in forward, if you lean back on the foot control, that's going to make you turn left. And if you lean forward on the foot control, that's going to make you turn right. I'll show you that in real time here. All right, so here we are cruising down the riverbank. If I lean forward, I go to the right. Lean back on the foot pedal, I start to go to the left. If you keep it in the middle, you end up going straight. The nice thing about this is even when you kill the throttle, you can turn this thing as long as you've got some water pressure against the back of the motor there. So here's your throttle. You've got forward and reverse. And of course, you've got your kill switch here. If that comes off, your motor's not going to run at all. You can try and put it in forward and reverse. Nothing's going to happen. Disengages the prop. So put your kill switch on. That's magnetic there. I've got to tie a lanyard around mine. I haven't done that yet. But let's bump this baby up to about, I don't know, let's say 10% if we can dial that in. All right, so we got our speed up in the corner there with our throttle at right about 10%. You can see our speed up in the upper left right there, about 3.3 miles an hour. Let's bump this throttle up a little bit, try and get to about 25%. Okay, 25% on the throttle. Now we're going about 4.5, 4.6, 4.7 miles an hour there. So that's about where that's going to level out. Bump up to 50% on the throttle. Now we're throwing some watts down. This has got our speed running up to almost 5.8. There it is, 5.8. Almost 5.9 miles an hour up there. Let's get going a little more. 65% on the throttle. And we have now broken 6 miles an hour. Let me get this thing going straight here. And we are going just about 6.2 miles an hour right there. Bump it up to 75%. And we're looking at just about 6.4 miles an hour, a little more, 85%. That'll jump us up to nearly 6.7. Let's see if she climbs. There it is, 6.7 miles an hour. And let's rock it up to 100%. Wonder if we can crack 7 miles an hour. I'm gonna try and lean back as far as I can here, get all my weight towards the back of the boat. Looks like we're topping out about 6.9 miles an hour, which is really no slouch. This thing can boogie. All right, let's compare that to the XI3. I'm gonna take the kill switch out so that throttle can't operate at all. It is gonna keep yapping at me, I guess. So as long as you hear that beeping, you know that the kill switch is disengaged. Here comes the XI3. That's 0% right there. So now we're at about 25% on the XI3, and that is going about 1.5 miles an hour, 1.6, 1.7. Still climbing. Okay, so definitely under 2 miles an hour. This is about 50% on the XI3. Got it up to about 10 clicks out of, I believe there are 20 on it. So now we're up to, we might crack 3 miles an hour. There it is, 3 miles an hour. Let's bump it up another 5 clicks. After that 5 clicks, we have broke 4 miles an hour. We're looking at about 4.1. And let's crank this thing all the way up. Okay, motor is maxed out. So we're at about 4.5 miles an hour on there. One of the other nice features here, really two, is that I can use the foot control steering while I'm running the XI3, so I can just point that dead forward and then steer that way. Use the NK300 in the back to steer. Also, I can do a little bit of speed boost. So I've got this thing running just under 40% and the XI3 running about 50%, and I'm almost at 5 miles an hour. Now I don't have to go far. If I was going far, I'd pull that up and run. And I did test it. Running both of them at full blast doesn't do much for you. The NK300 can outrun the crap out of the XI3, so it's really just slower when you got that thing down in the water up front. I know you were wondering. So as you can tell, you definitely get a heck of a speed boost if you run that NK300 back there. I think it's a heck of a combo. I can blast off to where I'm going. I've got a 55 amp hour battery back there, so I've got some serious range on this thing. We might have to do a range test in the future, so comment down below if you want to see the range test here. And either way, once I get to my spot, I can use the XI3 up front and kind of tool everything around from there, use my spot lock. I like to drift channel edges when I'm fishing, so that's gonna work perfect for me. This rig is an absolute beast. We'll do an entire walkthrough in an upcoming video, so make sure you're following along. If you're still hanging with us, I appreciate you watching that entire build process and the on-water testing. Leave a comment down below, let me know what you think. Captain Dan, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching.